Hi guys, Nolan here. Today we're talking about the misconception of the saying, forget about the front end. Before we start this video, I would just like to thank all the new subscribers for joining us in our community here. Hello, welcome to our corner of the horse world where we talk about all the crazy things that make this horse world go round. And if you haven't subscribed yet, the button is right down there. You know what to do. And for those of you who don't know what to do, hit the button, hit the bell. A couple of weeks ago, we spoke about the misconception of forward and how waiting is as important as going forward, if not more so. And if you haven't seen that video, the link to it is up there, as well as I'll link it down below for you mobile users. So today we're going to proceed with the misconceptions and continue with one that I find a lot of people get wrong. And that's the saying, forget about the front end, work on the back end. I think almost every equestrian has heard this saying one way or another, but I don't think majority of people understand what it really means. But for those of you who haven't heard the saying, it kind of goes like this. You're riding around and the horse is a little heavy in your hand. And you say to your coach,
"It's really heavy in my hand."
The coach says, forget about the front end, work on the back. What you see majority of the time when riders hear this is they throw everything in the front end away and they fuss, and to put it bluntly, they dick around with the hind legs. Yes, and I know what everyone's going to think. How can riding the hind legs be a bad thing? I mean, we're not wrong by saying we want to ride the hind end more so than the front end. That's not completely wrong at all. Unfortunately, if you have no feel with the front end, you're losing a major key factor, to the point where you could honestly be dicking around with those hind legs for hours on end, and not getting anywhere. You could be spinning your tires constantly, but because you're missing the key factor, you're not doing anything. It's kind of a waste of time.
Have you hit the subscribe button yet? It's right down there. Give it a hit.
Sure, I know where you're gonna go now. But Nolan, why can't we forget about the front end by throwing it away? Riding is about recycling energy. I'll make it really simple. Do you remember the water cycle system that we learned back in primary school? Imagine that being your horse. The rider generates energy from the hind legs. It flows over the back to the horse's mouth, which ends up into our rider's hands. At this point, we can half halt using our hand or even our body, which will then send the energy down into our leg where we kick, and the energy gets tossed back to the hind legs of the horse, and the cycle repeats itself. By throwing away the front end, our little water system now has a major leak in it. Now having a leak in it means that we are no longer recycling energy. What we end up doing is generating it, and it ends up flowing out the front door, which means then we have to regenerate it again, and it ends up going out the front door. It never recycles and comes back to us. So if we're not supposed to throw it away, then what does forget about the front end mean? Forgetting about the front end means simply ignore it. Is your horse heavy in the front end? Ignore it. Is he fussing? Ignore it. Not perfectly on the vertical? Ignore it. Those things I just mentioned, they're not problems. They're symptoms of problems. What you're feeling in the front end is just a mere reflection of what's really going on with the back end. So we'll go back to those. Horse heavy in the hand? Chances are he's not active enough with the hind legs. Is your horse not poking his nose out and reaching for your hand? Chances are you haven't got his back. So then how are you going to deal with this? Something I got taught when I was younger, and I also keep in the back of my mind now. When the horse is like this, think of it as your horse just locked you out of your own house. To get back to him, don't think about breaking in the front door, which is kind of like, don't try fixing the problem head on. So with dealing with, forget about the front end, don't think so much about getting him off the bit. Don't think about suppling him in the jaw and the pole and all that fun stuff that's there in front of you, where you think the problem is stemming from. Instead, you're going to think about coming through the back door, where he doesn't even think you'd be coming through. You do some leg yielding, you do some shoulder in, you do some decrease riding, anything to get the hind legs more engaged. You do all this while ignoring the feelings in the front end. So you're going to ignore this for two reasons. One, you're going to ignore it because down the road, as you supple and get him through and all that with the hind legs, this feel in your hand is going to supple and soften more and more, making that heaviness go away. But more importantly, you're able to work the hind end while still recycling the energy. And that's pretty much when somebody asks you, forget about the front end, that's what they mean. It doesn't mean throw the front end away. It means ignore what's going on there and just focus more on what's going on back here. Once again, I'll remind you, what you're feeling in the front end, in the hand, in the horse's mouth, it's all a reflection of what's actually going on back there. So what do you guys think? Have you guys heard this saying before? And did you understand it right off the bat? Or did you have to go through a bit of understanding of what it really meant? Let me know in the comments down below. And also down below in the description, you will find links to my Twitter, my Instagram, and my Facebook. The links are down below. You know what to do. And if you like this video, why not give it a thumbs up? It's a little thing, but as I said earlier, it goes a long way. And while you're at that, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We have new videos up every week for your entertainment, but also to help explain how this horse world goes around. And that's pretty much everything I got for you guys today. All right? Thank you so much for watching. I'm Nolan Michael Cruz, and I will talk to you later. Ciao!